It is another Money Monday right here in Everyday Iowa, sponsored by Farmers State Bank, making his return to Everyday Iowa despite what all of his co-workers told him. Chad Fesler along with us. Good morning, Chad. How are you, good sir?
Good, thank you.
Glad to have you. I'm going to make one little adjustment here. Where did they put your microphone? Did it fall down your shirt?
Well, it fell down. Huh?
That might be what the staticky noise is. There you go. This is the beauty of live television. We got a mic check. Tell you what, I'll just speak into your chest like, no, we won't do that. Let's talk about, while you adjust that, we're going to talk a little bit about trusts here real quick. Sean, go ahead and kill the mic if you could real quick. I'll set the scene here. We're going to talk about history of trusts and kind of how to be a part of one and how to make sure yours is in working order. And if you are ready, good sir, you just clip her right there to the microphone. Yeah, perfect.
Do that.
All right, now let's try it.
All right.
There we go, much better. All right. Trusts. Give me the quick, elevator pitch on what a trust is.
So basically there are two types of trusts, one when you're living and one when you're dead. So the grantor trust or the revocable trust is the one that you can be the trustee while you're alive. Then after you pass, that becomes an irrevocable trust. Typically people associate the grantor, the revocable trust is one that avoids probate. So that's kind of what that tool is used for. And then the irrevoke it locks everything up, and so you can't change it once you've passed. So beneficiaries can't make any changes really typically to it, and you can't take assets or remove assets from it. They have to stay in there until it's terminated.
Is the trust, Chad, something that can only be used once the person who sets it up is deceased, or can you be alive and say, all right, I want to set this trust up and see the good that it does while I'm still among the living?
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah, you can do that.
Tell me a little bit about that, because I know you were talking about revocable, and I mean, what's the big difference of them?
Usually with a revocable trust, you can set it up, and then you could put the assets in there, and then you can derive that when you're alive, or if you become incapacitated, it's a tool for that as well. And then, like I said, once you pass, then that becomes that irrevocable trust.
Okay. What are some of the benefits of setting up trusts and stuff like that?
Typically, we see them to provide income for a beneficiary or to preserve an asset. If there's farmland involved, you'll have a trust for that. I don't want to call it spendthrift, but we've seen a lot of beneficiaries that if they get a large amount of money, it's not going to stay around long enough, or they're not going to have it for long. So that can protect that asset as well. Usually a trust is just to protect an asset and drive it where you want it to.
What's the difference, Chad, between a trust and a will then? Because I know you hear times like, all right, the house is left in the will. Can you put that as part of the trust then? Or?
You could, typically you can put a house in a revocable trust. Usually that is a probatable asset, so you pull it, you can have a will. You can have an estate and a trust.
Benefits, we talked about not only the monetary, but what about tax benefits for somebody who was thinking long term and thinking down the road? What are some of those benefits?
The benefit is you can defer income. It's a pass-through entity, so any distributions to the beneficiary is going to be taxed, but if you hold that stuff in the trust, typically that'll defer taxes. Or if you can do some things with the trust where you can transfer the interest to principal, and then that can save on taxes as well. There's some strategies there. So.
And you've talked about assets like money and farmland and stuff. How does that kind of help avoid probate? Because probate, if I'm correct, is people kind of arguing this versus that and stuff. Am I correct in that assessment?
Yeah, probate goes through the courts, so it gets distributed through the court system. And then there's a percentage that's taken by the executor, and then typically an attorney who probates the will. So for your question is, usually with a trust, if you have assets in a different state, that creates another probate. So that's an ancillary probate. So what you want is to have that trust. You can have all your assets in one basket, if you will.
Okay, this is going to seem like a dumb question. I'm going to ask it anyway. Are trusts only for rich people, or can anybody have a trust?
Actually, that's a great question. I just got done reading a book. It was written in the 90s, 2000s. They cited the average trust cost or trust size was about $200,000. So I would say we see a lot of smaller trusts. You don't see a lot of 40 million, 50 million. They're out there, obviously, but yeah, it helps people do what they want with their assets. So anybody can use it.
Okay, best piece of advice, somebody on the fence thinking about a trust, what would you give them?
I would tell them to go talk to either a trust officer or an attorney. If you're to that point, you can do some research online. That's kind of a one-size-fits-all thing, but you want specialized information. You'd see an attorney, or you could meet with us, and we'll kind of walk through some things.
Which leads me to my next question. How can people get a hold of you, get your autograph signed, and all that stuff?
Perfect, yeah. myfsb.com. We have a web page, a wealth management page. It has us on there, and our investment team as well.
There you go. Any final thoughts on trusts before we dismiss you and let you get back to your day, which won't be nearly as fun as this?
No, this is a lot of fun.
You can stick around as long as you want. You're welcome to.
I got a meeting after this. Yeah, I think, early planning helps. That way, if you want to make changes down the road, you can. And then just, getting in front of this before you have to do it. So.
Okay, there you go. And then we, of course, put all the information, how you can get a hold of Chad and the entire team at FSB online on our website, kcrg.com. Good to see you, good sir. Yep. Safe travels. Careful on that 380 traffic, all right?
Yep, absolutely.
He's heading down that way. Now,